think the one thing we did very wrong some years in between is trying to keep up with the Jonesies.
Yeah.
And
that is tiring.
That is tiring, and that is exhausting,
Yeah.
and that makes you make really terrible decisions. What do they call it? EQ or self-awareness, to say, how much of this can I take? And when you stop caring about what people will say and what people think, that's where good decisions start to happen, because you're making decisions for your best interests, decisions that are good for you and not necessarily for whoever's watching you. What's up, besties, and welcome back to another episode of Marriage and Money, a space where we share real life stories about money matters in a marriage, and obviously just in general. It's not just about being married, because money is a way of life. We need money to survive, we need money to get by, we need money for our livelihoods. I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. Initially, this was a selfish project for just myself and Dizzy Basil to learn about money, how to handle money in our marriage, how to make better financial decisions, and it turned into this massive and well-received I don't want to say video podcast, because then it sounds like we're podcasting video series where we all learning together and we're sharing money tips and financial tips with each other, and it has been literally incredible. So I say all this to say, in this week's episode, I'm joined by my husband. I'm sure you guys already can tell. And today we're going to be talking about how we closed off our debt. The many amounts of debt that we've had. Actually, now that I think about it, you know what we should have done? Consolidated the amount.
No, you're just going to give other people a heart attack.
I know.
Because just our debt is so much. I mean, the other day I was thinking about how much we pay towards tax.
Yeah.
Just us alone.
Yeah.
So to us, they might say, no, we consolidated an X amount, and people get heart attacks to say, what do you need that much debt for? So I think it's much better if you just say an undisclosed amount of debt, but it was huge to us.
Yeah.
But also, with that being said, because of the last episode that I saw on I Blew It doesn't mean now that we have to, every other project that comes there, be community project, church project, NGOs that come our way, we're not just coming around to say, now we have free money. Spend some few years with your own freedom, and just enjoy how much free. If we've had debt for 10 years, I like 10 years of no debt, just to see how it feels like.
Story. Yeah, with every time he speaks, he always throws me off topic, because he always has so much to say, and you guys absolutely loved him. I love him too. Everybody is so impressed. They think, which is true by the way, they think you have this giant pool of knowledge about money and stuff. He has a master's in development finance, just sidebar. So yeah, every time he speaks, he always throws me. I have to get back to, okay, wait, where was I? What were we talking about? Anyway, long story short, today we're going to be talking about how we closed off our debt. We're not going to disclose how much amount of debt we had, but like he said, it was huge amounts. It wasn't necessarily in one go. It was huge amounts of accumulated debt. So from credit cards to overdrafts to personal loans to, what do they call them? Payday loans,
yes,
to,
true.
All these store clothing accounts. If you can think it, we most likely had it. It was that bad. And this is building up to the previous video where I was with him end of last month, where we spoke about, the money mistakes we've made in our relationship. Now, how did we get out of those mistakes and to get to where we are right now? And as usual, we're hoping this is going to be a very helpful video to somebody who is maybe drowning in debt, who is maybe just so close to getting out of debt and somehow losing hope, because you do get hopeless, and it starts to look very it's so far away, and I want to live a little, which is usually me.
And you're so right, because I was that guy, and the keyword is was. I totally believe that you must know what you're spending your money in. I would count the money to the cent. But because you don't see your debt being closed off, you don't see where you're going, everybody keeps on calling, and they're in need of money. Like my brother said, black tax is a responsibility. He used to give me a little harder tax to say, I can't. But at one point, I let go of the budget, but I didn't let go of what I was supposed to do. Just the other day, I think you had bought me some other journal book, and I had written down, I think it had asked me, what would I do if I had no debt or something like that?
Yeah.
And what's bothering me the most. And I think the things that I had written there, the credit card that was over 100,000, the cars, all of those things, I had written them down on that same book. And I realized when I'm reading that book this year, that this thing has bothered me for quite a while. It doesn't mean that you must wake up in the morning and do like The Secret and stuff and every morning and you read your affirmations, I must close that this much amount. Yes, that's what the books are teaching us.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if it's at the back of your mind, even if you get so much money, you're never gonna go out of that rail. You're just not gonna derail and do your own thing, unless if that's what you always wanted. If you said you wanted to build somebody a house, you'll go back and finish that house, and then you'll take yourself on a vacation. But it's always that thing that whatever bothers you, you will. If I have a wound, I want it dressed and fixed before I start running.
True.
You just don't. Unless if you say, oh, I always wanted to go to school, but I don't know what happened to the money. Then it was not a wound. It was just a scratch that you wanted to.
It was just a wish.
Yeah, it was just a wish.
Then the first thing, if you really want to close off debt, and that's essentially where we started, was commitment. We committed to closing off debt. And I think we might have had a discussion about it before we even got married to say we need to find a way to get out of debt so that, when we do get married, yes, we did have that conversation. But at the time, it wasn't let's help each other get out of debt. It was let's just get out of debt, so that we can hopefully have a clean-ish slate by the time we got married. And even though we really tried our best, right? By the time we were getting married, we didn't have that much debt. And the one thing we had said was, we are not having a wedding on credit.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so we made sure we had the money. It took breaking off savings and cashing in stuff, to get that cash. Because, see, the thing is, and I think this is what some people don't realize, I was one of those people at some point. When somebody says I have money, it doesn't necessarily mean it's money in the bank account, accessible money just sitting there. It's somewhere. It's in some investment somewhere. It's money you have to sort of wait for. Like Rafila said, it's your balance sheet money. It's not your income statement money. So a few things had to be broken down for us to finance the wedding, and we didn't do it on debt, which was amazing. So the first thing to do is to honestly commit to paying off debt. And I can tell you this, I'm sure you will agree, it's not fun.
No, it's not. Especially because another thing that probably started before here is the unlearning. There's a lot of advices that are out there, and most of them you have to unlearn because some of the stuff are not solid anymore. And the process of unlearning is quite tougher. I remember my banker telling me, because I didn't have, 2015, 2016, I didn't have no debt, and my credit was horrible. It was after I crashed the Mac. And my credit was so horrible. And I was like, how do I get my credit going? He's like, no, get a store account, do your stuff. And then I went there, I think I bought the Jack parcels. And then it tumbled into buying stuff, home stuff. Because I just didn't know what to do. And we ended up finishing with that store account. And then I realized later to say, oh my gosh, I finished 28 or 29,000 in a store card. I was like, I finished that. And I had another store account with over 50K. And both of them at one point, they were maxed out. And I thought to myself, but why is my credit rating not getting better?
It's a trap.
I went back to, I don't blame him because he probably also didn't know. That's what he knows because of the environment that he stays in. But it takes a lot to understand that the environments are different. When he says use store cards to get your credit, maybe for us it was not the best way.
It's again that thing that Rafida was talking about. You need to be mindful of who you are talking to and who you are getting the advice from, because I mean, granted, it wasn't a store card from the physical bank, but at the same time, like you say, it's most likely what he was exposed to.
No, true.
And to him it made sense, but to the financial industry it made no sense.
It makes no sense, because at one point I looked at that thing. I think I was sitting at 19% interest. And I picked up the phone and I called it like, oh, you have a good interest. Others are sitting at 25. I'm like, how's 19 good interest? Same as the other time. I picked up the phone and I saw on the house we were on 9.7. And I was shouting at the banker to say, how is it that I'm 9.7?
Also, I do want to say, this is total sidebar. You remind me when you speak about, the interest on the house. One thing we don't realize once you're in debt is that you can actually go back to the bank and they can, what do they call it? Recalculate or something?
Reprice.
They can reprice. So if you got it at a higher interest rate, they can then go back, reprice it, and you could potentially get prime minus a really good number, which then lowers your interest. The only thing, they do that on mortgage only?
So they can do that on any product.
Whoa.
Believe me. All of this I knew only when I started working as a strategy person for client service function of the bank. They can reprice anything if you're a high value client. If you're not a high, that's why they were taking us from pillar to post when I was like, can I close my credit card? Can I close that expensive account and live with this one? I'm gonna use this bank and not this bank. That's why they were taking me from pillar to post, because when you're a high value customer, that they say, oh, you have a high value customer is not the one that's exposed to too much risk. High value customer is the one that's got potential to give more profits for the bank.
To the bank.
When you have your credit card or your store account, you must not use more than 50% of your limit. If I have a 200,000 rand credit card, I must leave 100,000 in the card. Don't touch 100,000. If you don't use it, we feel like you are credit adverse and it works against you. But you must use only the 50% of it. Then when you come back, then they're like, oh, hang on a second. When is he buying a car? Then they see that you can hold on to your car, but you have a year on the credit card that you are playing and you're keeping it nicely. Then when you go for a car, then they're like, oh, we can approve you for 1 million rand. You go for a house, we earn the same amount of money. But I get approved for 4 million. You get approved for 1 million. And you ask yourself, how is that possible? It's all based on how you use your credit.
But all this to say, don't go into debt. All I wanted to say was, we actually do have that right to go back to the bank and say, can we reprice whatever debt you have, whether it's a home loan. I didn't know they can do it for others. I'm assuming your car as well. You have that right to go back to the bank and say, can we reprice? Because you never know, you might end up getting much lower interest rate than you did at the beginning.
Especially
and then
when
it works for you, then you can attack that debt and pay it off as soon as you can.
Especially if your income increased. You have a better chance of lowering your pricing. So for instance, I was a clerk all along, and then I get appointed now as a senior manager. I can actually go back and say, can I reprice my home loan? Then they give you a lower interest rate on a home loan. Then you don't change your installment. Your installment stays the same. Then you can attack your home loan quicker. I must say, the only place where this is advertised is for insurance.
Of course.
Because they want you to jump to another insurer. That's why they say, always ask your insurer how much every year. That every year applies in any debt that you have. You can ask for a repricing anytime. If our situation changes and we have a home loan or a car finance, you can always ask for a repricing to say, I have changed, I'm much better. My credit was 600, now it's sitting at 700. Can you reprice? And of course, it will work in your favor.
Circling back to how we got out of debt was commitment. We had to commit to paying off debt regardless of how big or small it was. And I remember at the time I used to share with him Dave Ramsey's little clips on Instagram. Like I would take screen grabs because he wasn't on Instagram then, so I would just show him, and we started joking about rice and beans because that's
true.
what Dave Ramsey says, right? He's like, you eat rice and beans.
And to me, it didn't make sense because rice and beans is like Sunday cause, eh? All you need is some chicken there and some beetroot there.
Yeah, and then ta-da, you have your 7 colors.
I mean, we've had worse, like pap and onion. You fry the onion and from outside it smells like you're about to make a lekker steak. But that's all that you have, is just pap and onion.
I wish I could talk to your mom about this. I want to hear the pap and onion story.
Yeah, no, it's a different story. But
yeah,
we've been even below rice and beans. There's other school of thoughts when it comes to tackling money. They're saying you must look out for things that motivates you. Don't spend money on things that you don't want at all. Like, say for instance, you don't have space even for more clothes. But here you are, you're spending money because you think that you need to work on your outfit. And once you realize that you don't need to work on that, you can cut all that clothing cost.
Yeah.
You remember I used to wear shirts from England. I used to import my shirts. I used to get certain type of shoes. And I had a lot of formal shoes. I had 30 shirts imported from England and 50 ties. And that was the look that I was going for. It was a serious banker. But right now, I don't have any of those shirts. I bought 4 shirts just the other day. They were actually quite reasonable. Just in case I need to go to church, or I need to go to a funeral, or I need to meet somebody else who's still stereotyped, then I can go with it.
Yeah.
But even the last time when I was meeting with people that wanted to collaborate with me, remember that other consulting company?
Yeah.
I went there still with my sweatpants.
He was wearing sweatpants and
I just didn't want to project a different mindset. This is what I am.
He has. I think we have both grown so much that we don't let our surroundings influence how we spend our money. So it's either you spend money on something you really want, like you want, or you don't.
Yeah, true.
Like, we're not going to go out to buy something to please the next person.
And I think that's where we make the worst money mistakes, because you're meeting somebody for coffee, but you're going to a branded store to get a jacket, to get a suit, to get whatever, and you're like, it's that potential client.
Yeah.
If the potential client likes you, they would want you irrespective of whatever you're wearing. Yeah.
And to make matters worse, it's not just with clients, it's with friends as well, because you haven't seen this friend for so long. You want to show up there looking fresh, and then you go buy things, and then you want to also pick up the tab. You're like, no, I'll pay for lunch.
True.
And you'll do this and I'll do it. In your mind, you're like, I have money in my account, I have money in my account, which maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe it's throwing you to a negative balance. Maybe it's tapping into your overdraft. Maybe it's tapping into your credit card.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
True.
And that's essentially the second thing. After commitment, you need to realize, what do you need? Not what you want to need. What do you need?
Yeah.
And leave it at that. Whether it's paying your bills and buying a little bit of food, and I say a little bit of food because you really don't need that fancy cheese from Woolies in your salad every time you have dinner. You don't.
True.
You really don't. You can have your salad without the cheese, because that cheese is expensive and it's literally this big. It doesn't make sense, And you can cut out, going to Starbucks every morning on your way to work, and you can cut out having fancy lunch with friends. Instead, invite your friends over at home and you watch Netflix that you're already paying for.
It all depends on what your mindset is. But mostly I found that when I was out, more especially at the restaurant, you don't get to connect with people because there's a waiter asking you, do you want something? Do you want something? And I found that coffee shops were much better for me, because if I want something, I have to stand up and go to the counter and say, can we refill? And most coffee shops, if you go to like Starbucks, for instance, or the other Seattle, most of them were not that loud, like your normal restaurant. They were not that loud that you can, catch up with your guy, and there's no time limit. You can go on forever, and that allows you to actually, we're not saying be frugal, but we're just saying be mindful of where you're spending your money, because it's the biggest line items in most people's budget. First line is entertainment, and the second line is clothing.
Yeah.
It's the biggest line.
Yeah.
And then after that is followed by, depending on who you are, it could be a car, or it could be your mortgage or your rental.
Yeah.
So those are the biggest items. Where would you advise people to stay? Closer to work, far away from work?
Look, see, the thing is now it's tricky because a lot of companies are doing hybrid model of work where you don't have to physically be at the office to get the work done, which is amazing. If there's anything that COVID has done for us, it's that, realization that you don't have to see the people to know that they're working. People can work from home and still get the work done. But then if you still have to work at the office, because there are still companies that unfortunately have not adapted. Personally, I would say stay closer to work. In the apartment we moved from before we bought this penthouse apartment, we were very close to my work, literally next door to my work. And it was because, they had started talking about, we might have to come back to the office, that and the other things where they hadn't settled down at the time. And we needed, to find a place that's closer to work, because at the time we're trying to stack up money so we can build up a deposit for our forever home. And so I would say stay closer to work, but don't use the excess money for other things. Don't let your free money now get taken up by Uber Eats or Friday nights with friends or whatever. Be disciplined, just remember why you're doing what you're doing. And if you're staying alone, you definitely do not need a 3-bedroom apartment. You don't need a 2-bedroom apartment even. If you have a couch and a 1-bedroom, you're fine. If somebody comes to visit and they're sleeping over, the couch is A-okay.
I'm the guy who stayed right across from my work for like 4 or 5 years. Myself and my brother, we stayed a walk distance away from work.
And with you staying a walk distance away from work, you didn't have any debt at the time.
I didn't have any debt.
So basically, stay in a place that's gonna not cost you more.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what we are saying.
Yeah, true.
Because the thing is, if you end up staying in a giant place, 3-bedroom apartment, for example, you're paying more rent, it's far from work, you have to travel, fuel is expensive, or taxi rides are also expensive. They're not as cheap as they used to be back then. Everything is expensive now, and it becomes just one after another, and then who knows, you're the person who doesn't like to bring lunchbox to work, then you have to buy food at work. That's another expense. And it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and before you know it, you moved from having this huge amounts of money when you got your salary increase to having barely anything. You get paid today, and tomorrow you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
As we wait for another payday, We've been there. Yeah. We're not just saying this because we are judging you guys. We have been there. Yeah. We've been in situations where we both get paid. He would get paid first and I would get paid like a few days later. And we would have to pay whatever it is we have to pay. And then we're like, ta-da! Yeah. Now we wait for another payday. A proper hand to mouth.
Yeah, and it all went on what were the people around us saying, because moving from that place that was a stone throw from work, and I was saving so much money, and I was fixing a house at home for my mother and stuff like that. Then we bought a place that we thought we were gonna get passive income. You see this thing of passive income. We bought a place in Heidelberg. We're like, oh, we can rent it out and we can stay there. And then we decided, you know what, let's just go move in there, because it stayed there for like 6 months or something like that without anybody. But to her point, it was killing us fuel-wise. We were driving a beautiful car that we liked, but the traveling of 80 kilometers, a single trip, I mean, by the end of the day, you are like clocking almost 200 Ks.
And you are tired.
You are tired. 200 Ks every day. You have to fill up fuel every week. When it comes to getting out of debt, it's not just debt that you attack. you are taking your lifestyle to say, what are the lies that I've been hearing? What are the lies that
I've been telling
myself that I've been believing? Remember the days where we used to have contract phones? They pick up the phone, they tell you about the latest phone, you have this latest, you want to upgrade right now, you don't even come, blah, blah, blah. When you get salespeople like that, if you are cognizant of the lie that you've been telling yourself, you would realize it immediately to say, hang on a second, I'm not going to be selling this products door to door and converting people to be, you're calling it my business, but actually it's not my business. I'm spending money into this. And it's making me walk up and down. And you can realize that lie immediately. But if you only think about it as you're watching this video and then you do nothing about it, guess what? You're still gonna be in debt. At one point, you need constant reminder. First thing that I spoke about earlier when we started this, I said a journal that she bought for me, that I wrote something and I read it later. I'm like, oh, hang on a second. All this stuff that I said that irritated me, I did write. So just writing, all those lies that you've been telling yourself. It doesn't even have to be about money. It could just be about anything.
And it's a good exercise too, especially if you do it about the money, because then you start to realize who you are as a person, and what sort of things you stand for, because more than half the time we just go with the flow so much that you don't even realize that you're about to fall off a cliff. December wants to go to a restaurant, so now I must go to a restaurant, and while I'm there I must bring in my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and I must have these fabulous lashes, and my nails must be fresh, and this and the other thing, all of which we convince ourselves we need, because it's this image I want to portray to the world. It's how I want my friends to know me. And you know what? That's what your friends will know you as. Like Olarato, she's always going to be on fleek. Her makeup's going to be on point. Her lashes are always going to be fresh. But then what your friends don't realize is when you go back home, it's either you're going to eat pap and sell milk, or you're just going to have to go to bed hungry and just hope your tummy will survive on whatever it is you ate at the restaurant, because you're struggling to make ends meet. Look at your lifestyle and actually start to realize, do I really need this? I don't need that. Be true to yourself, And if indeed you like going out, that's great. That's fantastic. Then what you do is you just commit to sacrificing that for a few months until you're out of debt, and then you can go out all you want, because guess what? It's going to be on your money, not on the bank's credit card. It's going to be with your own money, and you can do whatever you want with your money. So sacrifice for a little bit, and commit to paying off that debt, whether it's 50 Rand that goes into paying that credit card or 20 Rand. You gotta start somewhere. And one of the things I absolutely loved with Dave Ramsey when we started off paying off debt is that snowball effect thing, where we list your debt by order from smallest to largest, and you start attacking the small one, and then you go to the second one. The commitment part comes where, once you're done with the small one, you don't say, fantastic, I have free money, now I can do whatever. No, you take that money and you channel it into paying off the second one and the third one and the fourth one. And that's what we did at the beginning. I even remember we had a little catch up on the table, and we're like, okay, let's list whatever debt we have and let's try to pay it off as much as we can. Like I said, we were not necessarily helping each other pay it off, but at the same time,
keeping each other accountable. But I remember this other time. Remember when we started with the one that can free up money, the less debt that can free up money. Like, for instance, on my case, I had a store account. Then we can say, oh, hang on a second, let me tackle this store account because it's gonna free up $1,000. Okay?
Yes.
Then we go off to the next one. The reason why I'm saying is you might have an overdraft and it's 5,000 Rand, but it's not freeing up anything. Tackling that one first is gonna take away the motivation.
Yes.
But you go first to say, oh, which one has got I
remember that.
An installment. And the one that has got an installment, you start tackling the one that you can quickly finish. You finish it up, you got 200 Rands, and you're like, oh yes, I closed my the cell phone contract for 200 Rands. Which one is next? Because you don't have to wait 24 months. You can actually call them anytime to say, I have your money, how much do I owe you? And then you close it off. and then you go to the next one,
Yeah.
and you go to the next one. But the other time, the biggest part happened where I was left with the credit card and an overdraft, over 100 and something thousand, and both of them were not freeing up anything.
Yeah.
Because
That's where
because it's not like the credit card has got
an installment.
well, they have a limit, but you get paid. And it, the minimum payment gets cancelled off because you get paid.
Yeah.
And same with the overdraft.
Yeah, when your salary comes
when the salary
in,
comes,
it pays off the overdraft, and then you transfer money to the credit card, and then it gets paid, and then you bring it back, and you live life.
Then you have no commitment or money to it. The only thing else that's coming off is the interest.
Yeah.
So you get like 600 or $1,000 going off just on interest on a monthly basis. Then you're thinking to yourself, how am I gonna stop off this? And for me personally, what I did is, I remember there was this other guy we were even discussing to say, we're going to be selling our leave days because we're having so much leave days. And we sold our leave days. And I remember even the last time when I got that leave days and I had to call MFC and ask them how much is left on the car.
Yeah.
Well, the car was crashed, so we didn't have the car. We crashed the car in 2014. And I called them in 2020 or 2020 to say, I need to close off this. How much is left? And they told me how much is left. And I took exact amount of money that I sold my leave days in. I threw it in and I excited. I made myself a video that I stayed and it looked at me and I was like, I'm not gonna do anything else with this video. I'm gonna watch it one of these days when I want to do some debt, because I just want to capture my relief on that day that I paid off that. And then it kept on going, you know. It became now attacking other things. If you have done some piece job, reward yourself not by calling a friend and say, hey, I got expensive alcohol, let's blow it. I would reward myself by chipping off something. Sometimes I would see all of the frustration all around his face, say, but we got money, I'm like, hey,
let's go bowl.
I'm not gonna bowl. I'm not doing anything. She could hint if she wants to go somewhere, road trip. I would just look the other way.
Yeah, I gotta say,
it doesn't work.
I was the one who struggled the most with the commitment. Look, I was still attacking the debt, but at the same time, I was struggling to stay committed to paying off debt because I wanted to live. I wanted to live life. Yes, I saw the bigger picture and I really wanted to get out of debt. So what I did, and maybe this might be helpful to other people, is once I paid off something, I would, instead of immediately channeling the money into paying off the next debt, I would give myself a month off. And then with that month, I would then do whatever I want to do. But then the very next month, I start going off to doing something else. And like you said, with you selling your leave days, I don't know, maybe you guys work for companies that let you sell your leave days. Unfortunately, I don't. So I didn't have that, flexibility to sell my leave days to get the money.
But you're closed off using other means.
You do get money coming from all sorts of angles, be it your bonuses, be it your overtime, be it your, I don't know, you were helping somebody do something and they gave you money. It's money that sometimes doesn't register in our minds that we can actually use that to pay off debt, because honestly, when you get money, more than half the time what you're thinking about is, how am I going to reward myself with this money? And unfortunately, that's the narrative that society is pushing to say, you work hard, go reward yourself and go do this and me first and this, that, and the other thing. Rewarding yourself doesn't necessarily have to be blowing money or like buying a Louis Vuitton bag or, I don't know, going on a super expensive trip. Rewarding yourself could be paying off that debt that's stressing you out. And it took that for me, with month breaks in between, like after paying off everything, for me to actually realize, I really want this. I want to get out of debt. The more I saw the money freeing up, like getting freed up from paying off debt, the more I realized I actually want to do this with every single fiber in my body. And so I dropped the month off. And I would, from one debt straight to another, from one straight to another, until it was all done. So every time I got a bonus at work, I would like throw it into debt. It's hard. It sucks. It's not fun. Like I said, I'll tell you this. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Paying off debt,
It's very difficult.
it's very difficult because you get so many distractions. And believe me when I say you will get tempted. Somebody's going to call you asking for money.
Yeah.
Something is going to break. The school's going to want something.
Yeah.
There will always be something trying to distract you from paying off your debt, but you have to be committed.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not going to be able to pay the whole 4,000 that you had, but pay something, even if it's 3.5 and the 500 goes to the kids' school, because at the same time there are other responsibilities that you can't get out of.
Sure.
You know, you gotta do it. You have to do it. So then you pay 3.5 into the debt and then the 500 rand to the school, and you tell them that's all I got. If you need more money, you gotta take a number and join the queue. You have to be committed, and it sucks because you feel like you're working so damn hard and you have nothing to show for it.
True. I agree with that. And also, that's where keeping a healthy circle of people around you matters the most. Because I had a friend who religiously managed to pay off his firstborn in 8 years, not in 20 years. He took 20 years, but he managed to do it in 8 years. And I had the same thing with the other home loan, that you would pay a little extra, even if it's 400 rands extra. Before you know it, it compounds. Before you know it, you had 15,000 there. When there's something else, you need new bathtub or something, you can take it from there.
Yeah.
And you can sort it out quickly.
Honestly, if you're saying, I'm paying off debt, but you're doing nothing about it,
Yeah.
nothing is going to happen. And again, we have been there before where we drew up the spreadsheet. We're like, this is how much we owe. We need to get out of debt. And then we did nothing about
Yeah.
it. And there we were going to Namibia, not once, but twice.
Yeah, true.
Not getting out of debt, ignoring all this debt that we had. And we're just living life. We did absolutely nothing about it. I think it took us, moving into Midrand, that we said, we really need to get out of debt.
Yeah, true. Because I think at that time, that's when we seriously wanted to actually get married. And we realized that, I realized on my side that I don't want to get married with all these burdens. And we just wanted to start getting our house, getting a house and
Yeah.
building a family from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah.
And getting the schools that we want for our kids. But we knew that our previous commitments, our boy and girl commitments, were going to kill us.
We're going to be on the way.
So it's nice that we finished our boy and girl commitments totally. Right now, even if the car is old and there's battery problems, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, the car has been running
Like
from
you want to leak oil?
2015.
Leak oil then.
It's still okay.
Yeah.
Or you can just go and get a second-hand car
True.
and buy it cash.
Yeah. I was actually going to say, sorry, I'm cutting you.
No worries, go
I
ahead.
wanted to say your mindset is also your biggest tool. We used to operate on a level where every time we got hit by a bill, we would think, oh, let's get a personal loan to finance whatever it is we had to pay. If a car broke down, we would think, okay, let's get a personal loan,
Yeah, you
and
have
then
no choice.
we fix the car. If something happened, okay, let's get an overdraft and pay for that. If UCT wanted money, you're like, okay, great. Personal loan, overdraft, credit card. That's our mindset. I don't remember what bill I had at a time, probably UCT, because we both paid for our studies while we were at UCT. And, including accommodation, we had to fly there, be there for 2 weeks at a time, and we have to pay for all of that. I remember thinking, well, great, let me just get a credit card so I can finance this trip and I should be fine and whatever. And it was completely normal. It didn't bother me that I'm getting debt. Yes, it's school, but at the same time, is it worth it?
It's
I
not.
don't know. I still don't think I've used the PG dip. I studied at UCT.
I haven't also used my master's
Right?
until this day.
So technically,
300,000 down the line.
And-
And the worst part is that money that I used to finance my studies was money coming from long-term investments. So I broke Allen Gray. And I had the money to pay for my school because they were sitting on my neck looking for 112,000 or something like that. And I didn't have the money.
yeah.
I couldn't make money out of my salary. So I had to go break gold coins. I used to have gold coins. I had to break them. But with that being said, You know, at any given point, there's nothing stopping you to go into the school, and even if it's your child's school fees, you can just say, listen, is there other discounts that I can get? I realized when I was in a business school that you should never shy away from a discount. Somebody gives you a discount, it's good. Take it. Whenever you walk in and you get, even if you go to a second-hand store and they're already written, you know, clearance, you can still ask, listen, is there discounts on this thing? They might hit another 20% off. I would rather be that guy than to be having to swallow all the bad things I have to do to get school fees money.
Yeah. One of the things that really kills us is what will people say? And people don't care.
People will not say anything.
People don't care. The sooner you realize that the same people you're concerned about are the exact same people doing exactly what you're so afraid to do. So get out there and do it. Go and ask for that discount. Just the other day, very recent example, I stepped on an accident debris on the highway. My tire popped. I had to buy a new tire. They put on a new tire and stuff. He was there with me. They give me the bill. And it's ridiculous. And the guy just expected me to just tap and go. And I was like, whoa, why is this tire so expensive?
Yeah, so expensive, that tire.
And, you know, from me asking him that question, he's just like, okay, well, hold on a sec. And they were paying 1,500 rand less. And had I not said, wait, why is this tire so expensive? I would have paid that ridiculous bill, walked away moaning and complaining and stressing out about how we're going to get through this month, because now I just blew the rest of the money buying a tire.
No.
You know, it's that, just ask, even if you ask it casually, like, can I get I usually say, because I'm the one who used to suffer from what will people say. I used to suffer from, you know, if you don't see me, great. I just want to pay and walk out and call it a day. And I hate small talks. I still do to this day. But I'm getting myself to a point where I will casually say, any friends and family discounts, even though I have no idea who you are. I've never met you before. And I will say it with the biggest smile on my face. And more than half the time, I get that discount. So ask for the discount.
But ask for it before you get to the till.
True.
So as you walk in, you just say, you know what? I'm just here looking for bargains.
Yeah, show me the cheapest,
show me where the bargains
stuff.
Then they'll tailor to that thing. Yeah. Then you pick the stuff that you want. You're like, how much is this? You can add up yourself. How much is this? They tell you. Then you still say, is there another more discounts on it?
Yeah. Can I get an even bigger discount?
Even if it's a branded clothes, they can see that you are. The other time, I was going to buy you a gift at a branded store. And I walked in and I said, I wanted a handbag. That's when I bought lots of handbags. I said, that one and that one, that one. And I said, but is there a discount? Then they said, no, download the app, you'll get 20% off.
Fantastic.
And I just downloaded the app and I got 20% off. They said, when it's your birthday, come back again, you'll get another 20% off.
Nice.
But it's just a pity I don't wear branded things. So I can't go back for 20%.
Yeah. But speaking of
that, you can do it.
You actually can. And speaking of that, you know, asking for a discount, say in the very same breath, talk to your friends about it. You know, my friend Aisha and I were talking the other day about how as friends we never talk about money. We always assume that we're good. Like I look at Aisha and I'm like, they're great, they're good, everything's good. I used to look at my late best friend and say, she's amazing. She looked at me the same way. She's great. We had fancy lunches. We had everything great. I mean, granted, at the time we were both good, but it would have been even better if we just openly had a discussion about money, like how are you actually doing, you know? And I'm saying this to say, there's no shame in asking your friend, do you know any good deals on whatever? If you need branded stuff, it's okay.
Yeah,
you know, don't feel bad for wanting things, but just be willing to pay for those things cash. Just the other day at work, I was, you know, you save people's numbers on your WhatsApp and all of a sudden you click on their WhatsApp status and you're like, holy cow, why did I do that? But it's already done and they saw that you saw their status anyway. And this girl was, you know, put a picture of these fancy Adidas shoes. And she's like, yo, they're so expensive. And I was like, actually not. Go to an Adidas outlet, you'll pay more than 50% less than that actual price. And she couldn't believe it. So she went there and I said to her, but when you get there, talk to the guy, the salespeople, and tell them what you want and that you want it on sale, the one with the discount. Because the thing is, like Rufilo was saying on the previous video, you need to be mindful of who you're talking to, who you're getting money advice from. True. If you go to an Adidas outlet and you don't ask them for a discount, they're going to show you the full price shoes, because they do sell full priced shoes as well. You need to get there and say, I need to just show me which ones are on special, and they will show you gladly so. Yeah. But if you walk in there sheepishly and you're expecting to see what's on discount, you won't, and you will end up at the till hoping for a discount and paying the full price.
Yeah, they'll tell you, no, that one doesn't have a discount. With the talk, you can easily afterwards realize that, this thing is much more important to this person. This thing is not that much important to this person. So you can't just ask somebody else to help you out with your kids' school fees. Wow, they don't value where you're taking your kids to school. They're like, why are you taking your kids to school there? Why don't you take them to this better school? Yeah. And there's a scholarship. They're waiting for you for a scholarship. Yeah. And you could have just done that.
I like the point you're raising, and I just want to bring it across to say, pay off your debt, right? Be committed to paying off your debt. Sacrifice what you can for the short term to have an even better long term. But there are other things that you shouldn't compromise on. Like if you want your kids to go to private school, keep them in private school if you can. Go talk to the school's council, principal, whatever. Find out what scholarships they have. Even if it's for a sports scholarship, encourage your kids to play rugby or whatever it is they have there. Try by all means to make the best of your situation while still paying off your debt. There's some things that you shouldn't compromise on because you compromise now and the long term is not, it doesn't look good. Yeah. So be mindful of that as well, because you don't want to look back and say, I never should have done that.
True. But sometimes it's even about cars. But let's say, for instance, you get a hectic Mercedes. It's so expensive, it's so expensive, it's so expensive. You can go to the Mercedes store and ask them, can I lease this one? Because that's another option that they gave me.
It's not just cars anymore that are expensive, it's also cell phones that are expensive. The sad reality is every year there's a new phone, so your phone becomes obsolete almost every single year. If you're going to be the person who's trying to keep up with the Joneses to get a new phone every year,
I say no.
Even if they tell you, no, you can bring your old one and we'll give you a new one.
It's no.
You're stuck in this vicious cycle of always giving away your money, and you just never get out of it, because a contract is not designed for you to win. It's not. It's for the person giving you whatever it is you're getting from them, So be happy with what you have, honestly. Even
though you were not happy with my phone, I mean, your phone, let's just be honest. My phone irritates you so much that she wanted me to upgrade the phone. And she didn't understand it. At one point, I didn't even tell you when I ordered the phone, because I had her previous phone for years and it was cracking, the battery was horrible. And I ordered the phone that would exactly look like that one. To me, it was like I already used to this phone.
You guys.
And I got that phone for almost nothing. For nothing. And from a reputable store with the 1 year or 2 year guarantee on it. But it was for nothing. And the same thing happened when I got my tablet. She was irritated. And she asked me, how much you pay for that?
No. The reason why I was irritated when you got the tablet is because it was not in the budget. It was never meant to be bought.
It was not in the budget.
My question to him was, how are we affording that tablet?
But here's my thing. The laptop, the phone, and the tablet that I have together don't even come anywhere close to your phone.
That's true.
Together.
But I don't
not
own
come
my
anything.
phone, so...
Yeah. I'm trying to get to... The point here is not committing to say who's got the latest phone. For me, I know what is much more important. On the phone, I only do WhatsApp if I'm lucky and whatever few texting.
Yeah.
I don't need a hectic camera or nothing.
Yeah.
But also I like to read books, and I can't read on small screens. That's where the tablet comes in.
He's trying to what do you
explain,
call it? Justify.
Justify my
But
spending.
If he's going to justify himself, I need to justify myself.
No,
you
don't
guys,
need to.
look,
You don't
my
need to.
husband has got a very, very, very huge hands. He is gifted, okay? His hands are massive, and his phone is this big, right? So he's holding the phone like this, and the phone is suffocating the whole time. And apart from that, the quality on the phone is not that good. And I was encouraging him to get a newer phone that we could have bought cash. I wasn't saying get a contract. I was just saying, don't you want like a newer-ish phone? And he said no. To which I said, okay. But deep down I was like, but
of course. But it was me. On my side, I'm happy with what I have. And the same should be when you decide to go through a money thing, listen to your inside.
Yeah.
Your thing your instincts will tell you.
I will say this over and over, and you guys are probably going to roll your eyes. Commitment. Honestly, you got to commit. The one thing that he does really well is he's not influenced by the next best thing. If his phone still works, he's like, my phone still works.
How is it?
You know?
You know what?
And
I think maybe we need to get an R8 now.
The only thing that has started itching on him is the car thing. He's always like, car this, and now I'm the one who's like, oh, hell no. We're not selling blue ever. Because my logic is, he doesn't owe anything on the car. I don't owe anything on my car too. Yay! So, we're not selling those cars, you know. I feel like we at a point where we just got out of debt, like literally just got out of debt, and it took years. I think this process of getting out of debt literally started 2018.
Yeah,
it wasn't a full-on commitment at a time, but only in the past 2.5 years we're like, you know what, we're paying off our debt. And we didn't even make it like make an announcement kind of thing, because you see so many people sometimes saying we are paying off debt, we are doing this, and then you know, you also see them do the exact opposite of what they said. And we just decided, just silently, let's just get out of debt. Let's just do the best we can to get out of debt. And thankfully we did. This was the first year that we got bonuses from work that were our bonuses. Literally, we could do whatever we wanted to do with our bonuses, and it felt insane. It was oh my god.
Even though I don't know what did I do with my bonus.
I know
probably bought the furniture and the curtains.
What did we do?
I didn't do nothing.
I don't remember.
I should have bought a car.
Stop it.
I like that you hold on to your phones for a long time.
Exactly.
I also hold on to my shoes for a long time.
Yes, you do.
Just saying hint.
I feel attacked.
No.
I haven't bought shoes in so long though.
Which is very good. Very good, because we don't have space for shoes.
No, not just the space thing. I think since we started paying off debt, I realized I actually don't need as much shoes as I had. Look, I would buy shoes, not fancy shoes, but I would buy shoes almost every single month, because if something looks good, I would be like, oh my god, I need to have that, and I would buy it, you know. But now I don't do that anymore. In fact, the other day I was just laughing at myself, looking at all my sneakers, thinking, wow, I have not look the same. I don't have a single latest sneaker in my sneaker collection.
Is there such a thing called latest sneaker?
Yeah. New Balance is the new thing now. I don't even have a New Balance sneaker. I don't even have the desire to own one.
So, I have no sneakers then.
Well then.
I have no shoes.
You have been left behind. We digress, and we like joking around, but not joking around.
All of this add up to paying off your debt, but it's a mindset issue. It's not a let's go pay off debt. It's what lifestyle do I want to live? How does it look like? And you go for it.
And what do I need?
It's not close to, you know, the stuff that they do at The Secret. See your vision board, look at it every time, and you do nothing. My one is know exactly what you want to get, know exactly how you're going to be traveling to work on coming back, so that even if you stay far from work, you can still talk to your manager that, you know what, I'm going to come for a week, and in 3 weeks I'm not going to come whatever the case is, you can negotiate anything. You might find out that your manager is just coming to work because of you. And when you say, I'm not coming, they're like,
thank goodness.
All you have to do is just to negotiate, to say, listen, I'm going to be working from whatever office, because, I just want to see whoever from there. I'll see you after 5 days.
Yeah. Even if you don't have to see somebody, you just tell them it's convenient for me to work from that office than it is to come here.
Yeah.
Can I rather do that?
Yeah.
The fact is, you're at the office. Honestly, it is a personal journey. It's a personal decision, because at the end of the day, you have to answer to yourself. Your aunt, your mom, your brother, your friend, whoever, they're not going to come to you and say, hello,
do you think,
what's going on?
Do you think me and you decided to get married because we knew the life that we wanted to live, or we lied to each other for so long about the life that we wanted to live, and debt-free was at the center of it, and early retirement?
Yeah, I don't think we lied to each other. I've always been open and honest about the life I want. I've always said it, and I will say it over and over. If I wake up in the morning and I want to take a trip to Cape Town, I want to be able to book the damn trip to Cape Town without thinking about it. That's always been my thing, I want to live a life that doesn't require moving things around before something can happen. And that's exactly where I am, and that's exactly where I worked towards. And while I was paying off debt, that was literally the only thing in my head to say, yes, I want this. Yes, I want to go back to Namibia. Taking the kids to Victoria Falls, all three of them. But at the same time, if I do that and I haven't paid off my debt, then the debt vicious cycle continues for much longer than I needed to. So I don't think we essentially lied to each other. And I think the one thing we did very wrong some years in between is trying to keep up with the Jonesies.
Yeah.
And
that is tiring.
That is tiring, and that is exhausting,
Yeah.
and that makes you make really terrible decisions. This whole restaurant life and this whole going out life, and it's not who we are. It's not.
For me, I would get there, and once I hear the cutlery and stuff, and I start asking myself, how's this supposed to relax me? I'm the guy who wants to eat whatever I eat, even if I'm at the bush and I'm hearing those noises of the bush.
Yeah.
I'm like, then I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
So I think you're so right. And taking the life that you see on TV or wherever and trying to make it your own is also bad. You must have your own life that you want, however boring it is.
Yeah.
But paying off, you might realize it then that debt is something else that you can tackle first. And it sometimes it does happen that you had budgeted everything else and they steal your phone, they steal your couches, somebody comes in. You remember that other time when we were sleeping and somebody came and they stole everything? We had to get a TV on a contract. We had to get new laptops. We had to get everything from scratch.
Yeah.
Even if that happens,
It was rough.
sometimes you just take a step back and say, maybe I don't need to do it.
Yeah. Did I really need that? Take a week to let it simmer, let it stew, and realize, in that week, if not once you've said, oh, I need my laptop for this, then you don't need a laptop. You really don't. It's a nice to have. It's just not necessary.
Yeah.
So you can live without a laptop, but then maybe you might want to get a phone because people need to get hold of you. You need to be available for work or for whatever, for your family. So you sort of learn to prioritize your needs versus your wants, because 80% of the time we want to need a lot of things, and then we present this want to needs as actual needs, and you buy these things and you realize, I bought this 6 months ago and I haven't even tried using it. Did I really need it? And at the time it was a whole emergency. You needed it, you know, and that's also something I've had to learn since our second trip to Victoria Falls. Yes, I want to go back to Namibia. Yes, I want to, I would love for us to go back to Victoria Falls and stuff. But do we really need that right now?
Yeah.
We don't.
We've already seen it before.
We've already seen that before. Look, it's still in my list because now we have 2 kids that haven't been. But,
and the other one was too small to remember anyway.
But it's still not a need. It really isn't. We love traveling, but we don't need to stay in a 5-star hotel every time we travel. And we don't have to travel every second month. We don't have to travel every school holiday. And we don't have to, always be showing off like, my husband bought me this, my husband did that, my husband did that,
and I buy a lot of things,
We honestly, what I'm trying to say here, while he's distracted me, what I'm trying to say is your life is your life, and your life will not look like my life or your neighbor's life or your friend's life or your mom's life or your aunt's life. It will not. No matter how hard you try, it will not. So be comfortable with the life you have, the life you want to build for yourself and your family, and be willing to give everything you have for that life. You don't have to get a car on credit. Personally, I wanted to get a car a little bit on credit. I paid a good chunk of the deposit, but I wanted some because my brother-in-law was telling us horrific stories about buying cars cash, with the engines and stuff. And I was like, okay, fine. Maybe finance a little bit of the car so that I know it's good and whatever. Because I don't believe in buying a brand new car. I almost said a first-hand car. I don't believe in buying a brand new car. Car is a car,
Yeah, true.
And a second-hand car will do just as well. A lot of people have messaged me and DM'd me and told me, have I considered selling my car when my car was broken down for it was literally 9 weeks without a car, without my car. We still had his car. And people were messaging me to say, am I considering selling it? Why not just get another one? And yada yada. And I was just like, no, getting a new car right now, new secondhand car right now, is starting debt from scratch. I don't want that. I'm so close to paying off my car. I would rather pay off the car, bring it here if I have to, let it stew and simmer here at home with us before we figure out what we want to do with it. And I was willing to do that. And I think it's also that, what do they call it, EQ or self-awareness, to say, how much of this can I take? And when you stop caring about what people will say and what people think, that's where good decisions start to happen, because you're making decisions for your best interests, decisions that are good for you and not necessarily for whoever's watching you. I mean, you guys, we could go on forever. We literally could talk and talk and talk, but the gist of this whole video, if there's anything that we need you guys to take out of this video, is that you need to commit to your debt. No matter what happens, come hell or high water, commit to that debt and stay focused. It'll suck. It'll feel like a lifetime. It's going to feel like you're not living. But believe me, when you come out at the end of that tunnel, you're going to be a whole new person. And you're going to appreciate your money even more. Instead of just blowing it on stuff, you're going to think through whatever it is you want to blow it on. And saving becomes almost second nature. Like when you get paid, you already know where your money's going. Your money is not telling you where it's going. You're telling your money where it's going. So even if you get paid today and tomorrow you have nothing, you are happy with nothing, because you know you don't owe anybody. You know you've saved whatever it is you wanted to save. You know your investments are thriving, and you know life is good. Your life is good. And that's all that matters. So let us know in the comment section down below what you learned from this video. What's your key takeaway? Thank you, husband, for being a part
Always
of
a pleasure.
this.
I'll send the invoice. What? You gotta make money.
He doesn't get paid with money. Again, stay committed to paying off debt and stay focused. And until then, we'll catch you besties on our next video. Bye, besties. I just read this comment here. Somebody had asked, what are we doing now to make sure we don't make money mistakes? We might have touched on this, but I think it's that thing where, if when we get a bill, or when something, I don't know, breaks or whatever, the same thing with the car. Instead of thinking, let's get a personal loan to fix this car, or credit card, or overdraft, or some sort of debt, we let it simmer. We've learned to take decisions much slower.
And I think we communicate, because sometimes, like, how well is somebody else, your mind clears up.
Taking time to make a decision will help you make better financial decisions.
True.
You don't jump into mistakes, because like I said, we already said in the video that back then when you get hit with a bill, you're like, okay, can I afford another personal loan? Can I do this? Can I do that? And we never even pause to say, but wait, what happens if I call UCT and I say la 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 la?
You become like Spider-Man. You've never called, and that's
you become like Spider-Man. You want to change the universe, and you haven't recalled.
When I was speaking with those other thing in Baku, Unisa, and I was telling them about when does a fast and a slow decision needed, and I was like, if a decision is life-threatening, you need to make a fast decision. Anything else needs a slow decision. You have an option. Okay, let me think about it. I'll call you tomorrow. They won't charge you for storage. Couple, you can say, you know what, close off the car, I'll come pick it up.
Scooching. He's scooching in.
Yeah, sound is on, hey?
It is on. Is that fine? Is that enough space? Why am I thinking this today? I don't know. Is it focused? Can you see my lashes? I feel like you can't see my lashes.
Don't worry, you'll see them. Go ahead.